Hello everyone, and welcome to episode 4 of the PvM Hub. This series aims to be a collection of beginner-friendly revolution guides teaching you how to approach all of the different bosses of RuneScape. Keep in mind that these guides will not be optimal, but simply a good starting off point for those hoping to learn bossing. Continuing with our excursion into the God Wars dungeon, we will finally take a break from using melee and look at one of Zamorak's greatest generals, Tsutsaroth. Tsutsaroth is the second of the 4 God Wars dungeon generals we'll be looking at in this series. His main draws are his tier 70 mage armor that he drops, as well as being the only God Wars general with a weakness. Unlike General Grottor, he does have a few unique mechanics that can be very punishing if not handled correctly. As always, this guide will be broken up into a few different sections, all timestamped in the description. Those sections will be the recommendations and requirements, setting up your revolution bar, the important facts and mechanics of the fight, and then a full fight breakdown. If we look at requirements, Krill himself has a few to note. The first is at least 70 constitution required to get into the Zamorak encampment, either 60 strength or 60 agility to get into the God Wars dungeon itself, and 40 Zamorak kill count to start the fight. In terms of recommendations, it's going to get a bit more tough. Krill is weak to mage, and more specifically fire spells, so we will be bringing mage for this one. While I'm setting my recommendation at 70, I would strongly consider getting 75 to unlock Fire Wave. I'm also setting my defense requirement at least 65 for reasons you'll see in a minute, but would recommend 70 or higher. For the prayer recommendation, it gets a little sketchy. For now, we'll put that aside and get to it a little later when we introduce the mechanics. For summoning, I would again recommend 52 at a minimum, with greatly improved results at 67 for a War Tortoise. Looking at money, this time I would recommend around 800k for gear and supplies. If you have extra loyalty points or auras lying around, I would recommend using any of the following: Maniacal, Dark Magic, Vampirism, or Penance. You can buy Maniacal, Dark Magic, and Vampirism from War with points of War, or you can buy all 4 of them from Solomon's shop with loyalty points. For the setup I'll be using in this video, I'm wearing a set of full Superior Skeletal Armor, which is tier 65 Magic Power Armor. You can buy a base set off the Grand Exchange for just over 600k, and then you'll need 5 Fremenic Equipment Patches, which can be bought off the Grand Exchange for around 20k each. I have a Seer's Ring, and I'm using a Zamorakian Cape, as well as a Guthix God Staff, both from the Mage Arena 1. The Cape can be claimed for free, and I believe the staff will cost you 80k. In my inventory, I'm bringing 1,000 of each of my Air and Fire runes, a Super Defense and Super Magic Potion, as well as a Super Anti-Poison. The rest of my inventory is filled up with food, in this case Desert Souls. It's worth noting that my Spirit Terrorbird Beast of Burden is also filled up with food. Next, let's take a look at your Revolution bar. If you're unfamiliar with Revolution, it's a system in RuneScape that will automatically use your abilities for you from left to right. To take advantage of this, we will put our strongest abilities furthest left so they get used more often, and weaving in some threshold abilities which require 50% adrenaline. Shown on top here is what the PvM Encyclopedia would recommend. If you don't have these abilities, below is what I will be using in the video, removing any abilities which will require you to have unlocks through outside means. For the PvM E bar, they recommend Dragon's Breath, Sunshine, Wild Magic, Concentrated Blast, Corruption Blast, Asphyxiate, Combust, Tuska's Wrath, Impact, Rack, Deep Impact, and Detonate, with the 2 abilities not in the Revolution bar being Tsunami and Metamorphosis. For the bar that I will be using in this video, we have Dragon's Breath, Wild Magic, Concentrated Blast, Asphyxiate, Combust, Chains, Metamorphosis, Impact, Rack, and Detonate. And for the abilities not in your bar, if you are using a Guthix staff like me, I would recommend having your special attack ready and Debilitate. Now for the mechanics and tips. This is going to be the biggest part of this video, so buckle in. Krill can use a special attack at random, and unfortunately as far as I know, it's unpredictable and unreactable. This attack will deal a massive amount of damage, up to 4.5 thousand, and drain your prayer points. This attack can be avoided by just simply not using prayer. This is where the split will come in, and we have to talk about the prayer requirement. If you have 70 prayer, I think it's worth risking taking this attack while having protect from melee up and using augury. If you don't meet this requirement, I would strongly suggest not using prayer at all. It is counterintuitive for sure, but I believe that it'll make kills much less stressful. There is also a split in strategy when it comes to dealing with the fight itself. Krill has no access to ranged attacks, which means he can be kited. The drawback to this is that to attack while moving, you have to manually cast all of your abilities and cannot have ability queuing turned on. This is a much more involved version of this fight, but it will mean you take almost no damage per kill if you do it right. On screen, you can see me do an entire kill with no food with my stats lowered to meet my base requirements. The other way, and the way I'll be showing in my kills, is to face tank Krill and occasionally use my Surge ability to gain space and get a few extra hits in. This way requires much less interaction and is what I would recommend for beginner players. If you plan on using prayer during the fights, I would strongly suggest occasionally using your debilitate ability when you feel like a special attack is coming. If you guess correctly, you can change a 4.5k hit into a 2k hit, which is much more manageable. I would also recommend to invest into a Sign of Life, which will restore you back to life if you die. Be careful though, once it's used it breaks and will go on cooldown for an hour. If you end up using a Gothic staff like I do in my attempts, make sure to occasionally use its special attack, as it's one of the best in the game at any level of PvM. It will temporarily make Krill easier to hit and deal a good chunk of damage while you're at it. Now let's look at our full kill. Starting from War's Retreat, I teleport to Trollheim and make my way down the mountain to the north. As I round this corner, I make sure to turn on Protect from range as to not lose any additional HP, and once I get past the boulder, I turn on Protect from melee. If this is your first time ever to the God Wars dungeon, make sure you bring a rope so that you can use it on this entrance right here. Once you get inside, head directly north to the broken bridge. If you see any low health minions on your way, you can pick them off for free kill count. Once we get to the Zamorak encampment, most of our kill count will come from the level 5 imps with 200 HP. You can either be very patient and wait for them to respawn, or you can try and kill some bloodvelds in between. Here, I've sped getting kill count up, but in real time it took me about 5 minutes. With kill count done, you can see I've only used one food so far as I head into the boss instance. I eat up a bit more to be safe, and here is where you guys would use your potions. I'm not using them so that my stats stay more accurate to what I have recommended. Starting the kill, I tag the boss and run into a corner. I'm doing this so when I surge, I have the most space in front of me, so I create more room. Here I do my first surge and try and create as much space as possible. While I'm running to the opposite corner, I'll use abilities on Krill and try and get his health lower. You can see from doing that surge, I got at least 2 to 3 free abilities on him without him being able to hit me back. From here, it's rinse and repeat until your surge is back off of cooldown and you can do the same thing again. Repeat this until you can get the kill. With your first kill done, you'll want to focus the range minion first, then the mage minion, and the melee minion last if it's still alive. Once that's done, you will have completed your first kill of Tsutsaroth. From now on, you can attune a portal at War's Retreat and get here much quicker. You could also extend the trip if you want, seeing as that last kill only cost us 8 food. But with that, now you know how to defeat 2 of the 4 God Wars Dungeon Generals, we touched on auras and signs of life, and we used Mage for the first time. I really hope that you enjoyed this guide. If it was helpful, please let me know by leaving a thumbs up, and if you find more than one of my videos helpful, please consider subscribing. If you're watching this the day it comes out, I will be live streaming on Twitch. My plan is to help anyone who shows up with whatever bossing they would like to do. If that sounds interesting to you, come check it out at twitch.tv/zingy09. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Zingy out.